Hello and welcome back. I actually just figured out a brilliant thing I should have been doing a lot earlier in these videos. I was starting this video and I was interrupted by one of Jameson's podcasts, and I suddenly realized I could just check the audio and turn the voices volume completely down, so I'm not going to be interrupted by voices ever again when doing these videos, if I remember to do that. Regardless, welcome back to Spider-Man. I'm in the anime or the manga costume, and I thought this would be a fine time to get back into it because there have been some leaks online, which may or may not be true, about Spider-Man 2. Now, so let me cover more or less what they say. Pretty much they say Miles Morales will be playable, which everyone kind of presumed anyway. Harry will become Venom. Eddie Brock will appear in it, and Carnage will appear at some point in it. And, yeah, Spider-Man will have to fight the Harry Osborn version of Venom at some point. So this kind of leads me to what I think will happen in the next game. Now, this isn't spoilers at all outside of the other stuff that I've briefly covered. This is just what I think based upon how the story has been going, how the story went in the first one. So first off, I think Wrath is going to be in it. It's very clearly indicated in one of the DLCs that Wrath will show up in the next game. Second, I think there's going to be a ton of Spider-Man villains. A couple of repeats from this game, but also, you know, a lot of ones we haven't seen before. They're going to do it in a similar way, like with the side missions with Tombstone, for example. Or with kind of main storylines, but, you know, kind of a Sinister Six type collection of Spider-Man villains. That's just based on how gameplay goes. So what I think will happen in the next one, and for the most part, this is part. So what I thought initially was that Peter Parker would discover what happened to Harry, discover that the symbiote, or a symbiote-like creature, not necessarily the Venom one, will have been keeping Harry alive, and that in his attempt to help Harry, he will get infected with the symbiote and become, you know, kind of the symbiote Spider-Man. Now, in the leak, it says that he will actually fight a Venom version of Harry Osborn, so that's kind of fits in with what I was saying. I hadn't actually thought you would fight Harry Osborn, but it makes sense. I think once you become infected with the symbiote, that's when Miles Morales will come in, and you will have to basically play as Miles Morales with a lot fewer experience, a lot less experience, a lot fewer powers than Spider-Man has, so you'll be extremely nerfed, and you have to go up against Spider-Man, but Spider-Man plus symbiote suit. And I think that actually sounds like it'd make very interesting gameplay at that point. That way we can get a couple of different Miles Morales suits in, and we can also get the black suit in, and so on. Now, the symbiote, I think, will be defeated. In the comics, there are two different ways it happened in the comics. So the symbiote was originally removed by Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four, but then escaped and bonded with Spider-Man again. Spider-Man then was able to remove it while in a church, with the bells ringing loudly, which weakened the symbiote is weak to noise, and that weakened it. If that sounds familiar, they had the church and the bells thing in the Spider-Man 3 movie. So I think what will happen is that we'll have it removed, the problem will soon be gone, and we'll move on to kind of other stories, other aspects of the storyline. Meanwhile, Eddie Brock, who, there's actually a brief reference in this game to Eddie Brock. I'm not sure if people realize. Actually, let me pull that right up, because I think most people missed it. Let me see, where am I going? Not gadgets, not there, not objectives, no. Benchmarks, no. Characters. Where the heck? Collections, that's it. Okay, it's in Backpack Collections, and let's see, where did it go? Application, thesis, dumpling. I swear it's here. Self-help book, wheat cakes, visitor's pass, article, jammer, high school ticket stub. I don't think they're listed in the order I got them, so that's... Ah, here we are. Good luck card. So if you'll notice up at the top of the card, just below Joe Robertson, or Robbie Robertson's, it's great working with you, and Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock is referenced in this game. So I think Eddie Brock will have worked with Peter Parker before. They may even be friends. Or they could be rivals, as they were in the comics. Eddie Brock and the symbiote both felt like Peter Parker and Spider-Man, respectively, had ruined their lives. So I think, you know, it might come up. There might be some issues between Spider-Man and Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock will feel upset about that. And the end result, and by just sheer coincidence, Eddie Brock will meet up with the symbiote and become Venom, and he'll be the ultimate villain of the game. There's a couple other things they could do with it. The possibility of Superior Spider-Man showing up is in it, which is like a Dr. Octopus took over Spider-Man's body, basically, and basically became the Spider-Man for a while. If they're going to do the alien symbiote thing, I think it would be excessive to have Peter Parker once again, you know, out of control of his own body for a little while. So it's probably, I'm going to say that's probably not going to happen. In answer to Carnage showing up, Carnage I think would seem excessive for this. For a game, if he's in there with Venom. I think Venom's a strong enough character. I think, kind of like Dr. Octopus, he's a strong enough character that he can be the main villain again for it and be, you know, fully in it. I think just adding Carnage, you know, it feels like it would be excessive, and if they do that, I think I'll be quite disappointed. I wouldn't mind a few references to Carnage, or they might possibly get away with it if they have Carnage as kind of a side mission and not really a main villain at all in it, kind of like Tombstone was. So those are pretty much my main predictions about it. I think there are a bunch of possibilities they can go with. There are plenty of Spider-Man villains they could they could throw in and add to the entire mix. I think there's a possibility they could add another superhero into the mix. There are more references to Daredevil in this game, I'm not going to go through all of them, than I believe any other superhero, so he seems to be the most likely. But, you know, there's always a possibility some other ones will be. I believe both, let's see, Wolverine has made an appearance in one, and Moon Knight has made an appearance in another one. So, you know, anything's possible, but I think they're going to mostly focus on Spider-Man and Miles Morales. I don't think they're going to bring in any of the female versions of Spider-Man, which on one level I think would be awesome to get some of the female spider suits and be able to swing through town in one of those. But on the other hand, I don't want it kind of added for no good reason to the story plot. I think it'll just screw up how the story flows if they do that. So, you know, I think for the most part, I think we're pretty okay with just Spider-Man and Miles Morales being playable characters in it, and possibly Mary Jane, possibly, you know, a few other characters doing, like, side missions. I'll be honest, the Force stealth missions are, at least in the early parts, were okay, but towards the end, they get really annoying. You know, there are times, having replayed it a few times, where, you know, I will actually, you know, take a break from the game for a little while. You know, it's just when I'm playing for fun, just take a break from a little while when I have one of the Force stealth missions, because I just don't feel like dealing with it. And so that's kind of, I think they need to work on the Force stealth missions, and yeah, I think that they could be made really good, but yeah. That's just what I'm saying. Like I said, there's plenty of fun stuff they can add. There's plenty of costumes. New costumes they could add. I did like the for the most part, this selection of costumes. A couple of them I could have done without. But, you know, each person their own. So, yep, that's pretty much it on my predictions for the next Spider-Man game. Like I said, they're just predictions. I have no absolute knowledge, no knowledge whatsoever, so I'll leave it at that. Let me perch here and look out over the harbor as Anime Spider-Man. Anyway, let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.